This is The Discourse with Dr. Ken.
Hello out there, good afternoon. This is another installment of The Discourse with Dr. Ken. What a wet Sunday it turned out to be today, and you could see that has taken us to sometime just a little bit after 2 o'clock. But we'll make up for it. I have a fantastic guest today, and I'm very sure that you would sit there, enjoy your popcorn, and it will be worth your while. Today, what are we discussing? Is tech the engine of marketing practice? So we are going to go through the whole gamut. We're going to discuss marketing, we're going to discuss media, we're going to discuss technology as an enabler to these forces. So today, Emeka Chris Okeke is with me. He's the group CEO of DENTSU Global. I'll take his profile just so that you internalize it and begin to know and guess his perspective is going to approach this topic too. So welcome again, The Discourse with Dr. Ken. A fantastic episode if you ask me, and one that you will thoroughly enjoy.
This is The Discourse with Dr. Ken.
How are you, Emeka, today? How has it been? How did you manage to navigate to this place? Quite wet Sunday, isn't it?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for inviting me to The Discourse. Dr. Ken, I've been looking forward to this as I've been following The Discourse over some time. Well, it's a wet Sunday. To my surprise, the road was free. Looks like when we see rains on the road, everybody takes off.
So it should rain more. But having said that, it's a good day. When it is wet, people internalize things better. So the topic today, let me take his profile just so that you know the caliber of man sitting in front of me. Emeka Chris Okeke is the founder, managing director, and group CEO of MEDIAFUSE-DENTSU Nigeria. He has had an illustrious career that I know, being very close to him over 3 decades in the practice. Emeka is responsible for the development of the DENTSU global and local service brands in Nigeria. Emeka Chris Okeke has significant contributions to the media and advertising industry in Nigeria, Ghana, and Europe. He's a graduate of the prestigious University of Nigeria in Nsukka, and is a fellow Nigerian Institute of Marketing and a fellow Advertising Regulatory Council of Nigeria. Let me start with this. Your university, prestigious as it is, why is it the only university of Nigeria?
Well, that's a controversial question. But typically in Nigeria and like elsewhere in the world, we're all proud of our alma mater because it's not just the first foremost university that was positioned as national in character. That's number one. It came right after independence, and it was in the era of regional competition. And we have, of course, the Premier University of Ibadan, and then you had the Southeastern Nigeria responding with University of Nigeria. And by title, as we proudly say, we say it's University of Nigeria and others.
Now, Emeka, in the simplest of terms, just for the benefit of those not in the profession, maybe we should start with, first and foremost, what is marketing?
Okay, that's an interesting question, and I'll try to keep it as simple as possible. Probably the dictionary definition of marketing as any activity or business of promoting and selling products and services, including market research and advertising. But if you drill down a little bit to the professional side, it will involve a company, an organization, or individuals undertaking to promote their products, brands, services, and will also include advertising, selling, delivery of products to consumers. So it's a bit quite broad. It's a broad subject.
And it's quite deep, But in one breath, you hear people say marketing, and in the same sentence, you hear things that sound to me or come across to me like sales, So can you distinguish it? What exactly is the difference? Is it sales? Is it marketing? What is it? What is sales then?
Well, if you look at marketing itself, marketing has evolved over the years. It started the evolution started with 4 core principles or frameworks that considers number 1, first among the equal, the product.
Okay.
Secondly, you have price, you have packaging, and then you have promotion. So within the subset of promotion, that is where a lot of things like marketing communications come. But beyond that, these 4 core principles has again evolved over the years to become 8. And it has become 8 to include principles like considering the people, considering positioning, and considering physical availability of the products, and more importantly, performance. And so that's marketing for you, where it started. From a sales point of view, sales will simply be conversion of goods and services to cash into your pocket. Whereas marketing assumes a much more bigger, and indeed the first thing you do before you talk about sales, which is positioning the brand as it is, understanding the product as it is.
That's marketing.
That's marketing for you. And then understanding, considering the price, because as I said, how will people buy what they don't know about? So marketing is a starting point for product sales in the marketplace.
Fantastic, because I'm happy you clarified that, because in this market and on the streets, I hear a lot of people who carry complimentary cars and they say they're marketing. Are you really marketing? Are you listening? Or do you really now want to go into marketing? Because are you doing just sales? Because for me, sales is exchange of goods and services for a profit, and the relationship ends. Whereas marketing, like you've just explained, the summary of it will be creating value or filling a gap in needs.
Exactly.
Meaning that you understand the consumer, you understand consumer journey, and you know how to build the product into becoming a brand, which it's consumer consulting, really.
Yeah, it's consumer consulting. And now that you talked about consumer consulting, if you look at the way marketing has evolved over the years, the first set of principles that made the framework will seem to focus a lot more on the products and a little about the consumer. But over time, there has been a framework developed essentially and exclusively for the consumer, which is why we now have also the 4 C's, which are customer relationship management, customer communications, customer experience, the CXM, and also big on customer support. So marketing is moving from what the product wants to tell you about itself to what the customers want in a place. And the customers are the most pampered in this era of marketing. So if you don't pamper the customers and if you don't understand the customer journey, how would you sell your product in the marketplace?
Yeah, you really need to sell, but for you to sell, you have to understand marketing. I'm happy you said that.
This is The Discourse with Dr. Ken.
They say if you don't tell, you don't sell. So that is the Rolex of marketing, isn't it? That's the slogan. If you don't tell, you don't sell.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me take you deeper now. Marketing elevates businesses by aiding positioning process, creates customers and instigate purchases cycle, which we've explained. So which one is marketing all about positioning and it ends?
Which one comes first is the question. Look, on the surface of it, I would say that the positioning process will come first before anything, as positioning defines what the product or service represents. If it were a human being, what kind of human being would that product be? Would the human being, would that product be black or white or Caucasian or Indian? Will it be tall? Will it be short? Will it have long hair? And said so. In a sense, positioning is key, because you need to buy what you understand, all right? And you need to buy what has image, and that's it. And that is underpinned by the overarching principles and frameworks that have been developed over the year. Remember the popular African saying that with or without support, a good product sells itself. If the product is bad and you try to position it as good, it has more problem. But if the product is good and you don't position it as such, it gets lost in the crowd. That's
fantastic. It's like putting a lipstick on a pig, isn't it?
Exactly. Exactly, Dr. Ken.
Yes. So there are levels of marketing, things that aid the marketing process. One of them I know and you are very familiar with is advertising. And basically what advertising alone do not build brands. We know that, because what does it basically deliver? Attention, interest, desire, and action. So, what is the role of advertising and marketing? Can you please help listeners break this down? Yeah.
I'll go straight to the point here. Advertising plays a lot of role in marketing, but essentially, advertising persuades. Advertising reminds, advertising informs, advertising influences, advertising increases salience. And when I say salience, I mean market share, depending on your priority, awareness, is it trial, is it response, is it adoption? Aside from that, advertising in totality supports and aids the values created by brand, and therefore it adds values a lot more.
Very good, because if you are listening out there, no matter the business you are into, whether you are a hairdressing salon, whether you have a barbing salon, or whether you have a restaurant, whether you have an insurance company, a bank, the underlying reason why, the essence is because you want to service customer. And if you want to service customer or consumer in the case of FMCGs, then you have to understand the instrument of marketing. And that's why we brought it up today for deep conversation. Now, Nigeria needs help. Why do I say so? We have cash crunch, especially the foreign direct investment and the scarcity of the dollars, for example, which is foreign exchange. Is there a way we can use advertising? Can advertising help this process? Can it free up? What do you do in your own context? I mean, because now we're looking for help, with surround effect.
This is probably for me the most interesting question today, as it is topical in the country today. And I think it has to be taken from a policy point of view. The country has relied excessively on one product as major foreign exchange earner. But if you look at countries like India, countries like China, and other countries, some other countries like even Mexico, Brazil, you ask yourself, why are we so sidelining ourselves, blindsided to the role a noble profession like advertising can play in terms of unleashing the potentials of the country in earning foreign exchange? I give you an example. We sit here and we receive communication materials to place created in different markets from South Africa, in UK, and the only thing we do is adoption. Mark you that those global clients that are not domiciled here, and even the ones that are domiciled here that have decided to create their advertising outside the country, will have to pay forex to those people. So if we build capability and with government support, starting from the educational curriculum, and change it in such a way that Nigeria becomes the hub of creating communication materials for the rest of Africa and indeed outside the world, that has the potential to unleash the scarce foreign exchange in the market. Secondly, if you look at it, what is going on today in the market, again, on skills sets, what are we talking about? Talk about technology. If we equip our people with the necessary skills that they required to play a better part in advertising, in terms of knowledge on the AI side of things, knowledge on machine learning side of things, knowledge on prompt engineering side of things, you will end up sitting here and creating services, rendering services to markets outside this country that we enforce. We have today happening in this country agencies outside this country hiring our people in the local agencies to support clients who are in Nigeria, by the way, and clients who are in their place. And those agencies get paid in dollars, in foreign exchange. And the local people are now staying back. And this is stemming from the advertising industry, the Jackpot syndrome, as you know it. And that's capable of unleashing. There's a lot. Look at the policy from an ACON point of view. Can we flip the policy in ACON to say, if an organization wants to use a foreign model anyway, and we know the foreign models are not cheap, they pay them in hard currency, can we, rather than say, pay one flat approval fee or shut it down in one fell swoop, and say, if you want to use, if we have convincing evidence that you have limited use of the foreign model on your creative material, why don't you pay ACON in forex? And then ACON becomes a forex earner, apart from the agencies that ACON regulates.
So is a law by ACON do you think we need to look at again? Because instead of it becoming progressive, it's becoming a hindrance, isn't it?
Exactly. We are, in one fell swoop, we're saying we need hard currency to be able to have competitive leverage in the global trade. And in another way, we are styling opportunities to bring forex. All right, look at, by single act of devaluation of the currencies, advertising spend is going to be impacted.
Okay.
And I tell you why advertising spend is going to be impacted. If a client who is based in the United States and does not have treasury or marketing office in Nigeria, used to spend $1 million to run a campaign in a year, with a devaluation, instead of bringing more dollars to spend, this is how it impacts advertising. They will need fewer dollars to expend, to spend in the market. And that means that forex that flows into the country gets impacted one way or the other.
Oh, fantastic. For listeners just joining us, I have at my guest today, Emeka Chris Okeke. He is the founder, managing partner and group CEO of MEDIAFUSE-DENTSU Nigeria. We're discussing marketing, media, and tech. Maybe I should progress a little bit, because there's a part of this marketing as practice that really interests listeners, and which is media. What is media? What is it, medium or a message? Because as I know, media can become a medium, and it can equally become a message. Can you help expatiate on this?
Okay. This is a statement made by a gentleman, Marshall McLuhan, with the proposition he expounds that the form in which the message comes determines the way the message will be perceived. Okay? And I give you an example, and nothing can be truer than this. If you look at the social media, all right, anything that is in the social media has the tendency for people to majority of people will say it could be fake.
Okay.
All right? Compared to if a mainstream media flags the news, the likelihood to believe the story is true.
Okay.
And so, to that extent, the type of medium that a brand communicates, again, shapes up the perception about the brand. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. I think it's time to take one or two questions. I have one here from Yinka J from Mainland. He's saying, I run a health tech startup, and we have built quite a following on social media platform, Facebook and WhatsApp, and promote and market our products again. But we have very little sales so far. How can we get more conversions and make more sales?
Wow. If you Yinka, this is an interesting question, but indeed, you probably leapfrogging us into performance marketing.
So we'll come to that. So we just asterisk it, because we'll come to that, because Yinka is trying to now accelerate into performance marketing, which I had promised we'll take on today. So media for me, is media the investment arm of the advertising practice? Well, I would say that all arms of advertising practice constitute investments. Okay. All right? But essentially, on a weight-to-weight comparative ends between media and creative and ideation, where the cash goes. All right? Before now, which will be about 10 years ago or more, media was said to constitute 75 to 80% of client spend. Okay. Because, again, from our own market point of view, it's essentially a through the line, not through the line, essentially conventional media space. Okay? But as time goes on, you would think that this will drop. In fact, it has increased. Okay? Today in the market, media constitutes about 90% of the advertising expenditure. Wow. So in the space that a client out of his AMP budget spends more than 90% or more, of course, you will know that is significant. Everybody will be interested, the client will be interested to understand what that money
is bringing, how it is being linked to the bottom line, whether it is so. To that extent, what has made media to get more prominence in that is because, again, marketing has evolved, like media being a subset of marketing has also evolved from not just, especially when resources so scarce, from not just focusing on the reach, on the frequency, the broad spectrum of just landing campaign there and targeting more than the people that you need, to the extent of performance marketing, which is having to pigeonhole, having to deploy a way of strategy of using all the channels that are available to you in the social media that are measurable, that are trackable, that can be linked to return on investment. And so with that, it's not media cannibalizing itself, because with technology, again, production of advertising materials have simply become faster and cheaper.
So I'm very happy you are X-raying and opening up the science behind media, because on the surface, when people hear media, they think it's literally science and they think it's mass communication. It's much, much deeper than that those days, because media is a platform, is a message, and then it is such that has grown so much that but maybe that takes me to tech. So what is the role of tech in the complex nature of media and media planning?
Well, I'll tell you that simply, and narrowing it to media and media planning. Media planning cannot do without tech.
So for the benefit of those who are not in the industry, is media planning a profession? Is it on its own a profession?
Of course.
Because I ask this because a lot of people outside the industry don't know.
It's not just a profession.
So there are people who are just specialists in that. That is what they do for a living. Media planning.
Exactly. Okay. It's not just it encompasses a lot.
Okay. Tell us, please.
It's a full profession because it uses data and analytics, so you need data scientists.
Okay.
All right, and data miners. All right. You need prediction models. Okay. Therefore, you need also people who will be able to forecast and quantitative analysts and say what exactly will be happening in future. All right. You need trend watchers and trend monitoring people to do that. Not just that, from a distribution point of view. All right. Media is no longer the art of having to take pneumatic tapes or VHS and send people in transport to go to different parts of country to place. Okay. And so technology plays a role. You need to understand how to use the internet to transfer your information. So it's a whole professional skill, but more importantly, on the analytics side of things, on the trend side of things, and how it impacts bottom line. So media planning is a lot more complex. It's not just get the media, get the material, run to the media. There's a lot of science that goes with it. You need to set the objective. You need to decide the space that you want to advertise, whether it is a geographic space or whether it is a virtual audience that you want to talk to. If that, how do you do your audience segmentation, which is more important and which is very, very important where resources are scarce? You don't want to throw money everywhere. Or do you want to combine both conventional media and then performance media in deploying to achieve your result? Depending on what the objective is, will decide what you deploy or whether you want to have a combination of both and the time that you want to put it out there.
Okay, that takes me because, I mean, listening to you, you see that there's a lot of science into this and there's a lot of tech into this, meaning that if you introduce tech to the practice, you have a competitive advantage. But since any company can buy technology off the shelf, can it therefore really be a sustainable advantage?
Well, initially, I don't want to say yes or no. And so what I would say
because you can buy tech off the shelf.
Exactly.
So be it in the creative process or in the media planning process, if you take tech, can tech now be the absolute, sustainable advantage?
Let me answer the question this way. It will depend on the maturity of the market where you're practicing. Right? If you're practicing in a market where there's little or no investment in tech that will aid media planning, in that space, you can become a temporary champion with the deployment of tech. But beyond tech, if you don't update your technology, competition is going to help you eat the cake on your table. So to that extent, tech will just give you an initial look and feel of looking innovative, but that is not innovation.
Okay.
Because marketing and media planning is beyond technology.
Okay.
You can't rule out the element of human emotion and human interpretation and the skill to understand your audience, apply your audience before the machine. What tech does for you is that it reduces the element of guesswork and human intrusion.
It brings efficiency to
It brings efficiency,
okay.
saves a lot of time for people, and so you channel your resources into other more productive arms of media planning and marketing in general.
Now this brings me to the area. I don't know how much time we have for break. Otherwise, I think we'll go and break very soon. But before we go and break, Emeka, let me go into the area of performance marketing. So what exactly is the difference between performance marketing and brand marketing? Okay,
I would take that. Okay, from a performance marketing point of view, performance marketing, as I had described in my earlier responding to the questions, is simply the system or a process, a set of strategies where a marketer or a brand has decided to deploy different channels from the social media to achieve results against a defined target audience and linking it directly to outcome or bottom line. So essentially, performance marketing is a short, narrower strategy, and it is less expensive, but it targets a precise outcome. Compare that to brand marketing, which is long, elaborate, wide audience, more expensive, but to its disadvantage, it relies on estimated outcome, reach with tendency to have an overspillage against people that you're not targeting and against the audience that you're not targeting. But in terms of performance marketing, they will follow their audience to their lifestyle, to their social behavior, to their peers, and be able to get results and so forth, so on. So that's essentially the difference between performance marketing and brand marketing. In some instances, you will need to deploy brand marketing, and in some instances, you will need to deploy performance marketing or a combination of the two, depending on the objective you set for yourself.
This is The Discourse with Dr. Ken.
As sophisticated as it is, as strong an enabler as it is, Emeka, is there any pitfalls associated with this performance marketing?
Yeah, there are quite a few pitfalls, like everything that you do, and like every human endeavor, regardless of the strengths, there will be pitfalls. Some of the pitfalls with performance marketing will be lack of sustainable strategy, because your audience are in the digital space, all right? And so you have to follow them through and through, and you can't be targeting them with one single strategy. You can't also target them in silos, so you need a combination in those two spaces. So lack of sustainable strategy can be the pitfall, and also that people who deploy performance marketing focus on outcome result, and therefore they're expecting results so quickly. But it's been proven that for performance marketing to have effectiveness, you need a minimum of 4 to 6 weeks consistently. And then second is inadequate data utilization. By its nature, the digital space unleashes a lot of data. But depending on the development of the market, do you have a robust data management platform that would consolidate the data that you can pick up and ingest back into a marketing strategy to refine, rinse, and reapply? That's one. Again, marketing to only a group of people is a limitation in terms of performance marketing, much as it delivers the linkage between budget spent and its impact on bottom line.
That's fantastic. Remember, listeners, on this program we have dealt with artificial intelligence, and I'm sure at that time you guys were wondering how this AI of a thing, is it far away, is it with us already, or how is it even impacting on different aspects of our career and work life, you can see what that is already doing in the marketing and media space. So the question I asked Emeka as a follow-up question, how do we measure the impact of performance marketing when compared to measuring the impact of advertising on linear TV or traditional radio, for example?
Okay. On linear TV, for instance, how do you measure impact of an advertising spot?
And I like you to break it, because when people just watch TV and they listen to radio, they see these ads. But somebody sat down somewhere, did the strategy, understood the brand, followed the consumer journey, knowing the consumer pain points, and then you see those ads. They are not an accident. So somebody is putting out there, and then the question is, how do we measure this?
Okay. So let me give us a typical scenario.
Okay.
In performance media, and how you think the client will react to it. Between we have grown our Facebook audience to 100,000 followers and increased sales, all right, to transform our pay-per-click to optimize reach of 1 million people. You're talking hardcore measurability in terms of performance media. You are talking about impressions, the number of people per 1,000 that gets to see your ad. You're talking about engagement when you speak about clicks, when you speak about likes, when you speak about share. All right? You are talking about traffic to understand the preferences of people when they visit your page. That's performance. Then go to linear, all right? And you could actually measure the success of these activities by checking, are you delivering cost per click, cost per impression, cost per sales, cost per lead generated, and cost per conversion of the lead generated. Now, flip it the other side to linear TV. How do you measure impact? Reach. All right? What is reach? Estimated number of people per 1,000 reached by your advertising.
That have seen it.
That have seen it.
Or heard it.
Or heard it.
Okay.
All right? If it is radio. And then there is no science that tells you that this estimated number of people, this is the amount of wastage recorded that you did not intend to reach. Yet you keep paying money. For that advertising. It has its own role. It's not completely useless, because if the objective of your campaign is to create awareness and it is a mass market product, you need to start with a reach.
So it gives you visibility anyway.
It gives you visibility anyway. But when it comes to the hard numbers of how many of the people that you're reaching that are being converted and being adopted and are likely to try and repeat and get captured and be kept as brand loyalists, it becomes a different ballgame altogether. So that essentially is the difference between the two.
So you see, listeners out there, when you see these ads run on TV, you hear them on radio, you see them on billboards, you can see how sophisticated the science behind it is. It's not as simple as that. It's a whole lot behind the scene before you see those ads, and they have essence, they have reasons why they are calculated and imputed that way. Now, listen, we are talking of consumer goods here, we're talking of services. In the let's take political parties. I know that in Europe and America, before you put a campaign together, you have a whole bulk of media planners that go with presidential campaign teams. Is that so in this climate? Do we understand the monies we pour out? Do they have return on investment?
I can tell you it's not exactly. But again, political party campaign and the strategy to political party campaign regarding media and advertising and marketing candidates will depend again on the sophistication of the targeted electorates and depend on what is available in the marketplace. If the noise out there is built around a popular candidate, for instance, that has massive following, and you look at their age, where can you get them? Can they easily influence one another in their decisions? And then you begin to think of performance marketing, especially if you don't have a lot of money, like some politicians are money bags and they're able to spend. So performance marketing comes handy in such clients. You hardly find above the line. Everything you see above the line on linear TV, and mind you, linear TV is now turning into the same materials that are being flipped onto social platforms like Instagram and other platforms, and then are being flipped onto video on demand. So with linear TV, the mass market, you want to reach the critical mass at a certain point in time. But with performance marketing, politicians will need it to estimate conversion, to know in hard facts how many people are actually connecting to them. And that is why the difference between a successful political party campaign and candidate campaign and the less successful one.
Okay, fantastic. Listen, it's very interesting. For young people listening there, you want to go into advertising, you want to go into marketing, you can see that it is not just as literal as it is, as it sounds, and it's not just as easy as that, but it's doable. But all you have told me, Emeka, shows me that there's a lot of sophistication behind it. So this practice. So what new careers are you seeing with clients demanding for performance marketing, and what professional and educational skills do we need to make advances in marketing really, and then deeper into performance marketing? Because people are deliberate, so it's not just coming out of school, you say you want to read medicine, law. You could see there's a lot of opportunity in here. It's even yet unbundled, it's redundant, so what are these new careers that this can spin up?
Let me, thank you for this very question. The new career opportunities are being unleashed every day on the performance marketing space and broad marketing communication. As opposed to the time some of us came out from school, you would come with a background in marketing or the liberal arts or social sciences, mark my words, or design arts, and single honor courses, creative writing skill. All right. Now you have new careers that performance marketing is throwing up. Careers like data scientists. All right. Careers like prediction modeler.
Take that again.
Prediction modeling. All right. Where you have to forecast and where you have to read trend is like more of trend watchers, where you have specialists in quantitative analysis that will be able to tell you the way the consumers will shift from time to time and how peers influence each other. And then you have prompt engineering. Is coming on. And this is an opportunity to retrain the skills of our copywriters to become better prompt engineers and be able to access the large language model systems that would enable them translate within the shortest possible space of time. You write your copy, you situate your copy against the information that you've got about a detailed micro audience segmentation. So prompt engineering is coming up. Precision planning is coming up, taking guesswork out of it.
What's precision planning?
Now, precision planning is a situation that you simply follow through to your audience, and you're able to get through to the audience and know whether the audience has responded to your ad, either by clicking or either by conversion or either by qualifying him as a lead to know what next in the journey that he wants to do. Not as a group, but as individuals. More especially, it becomes more important with the death of cookies. And then you have to target individuals and target the masses of those individuals. Another career that is coming up is cross-border ad serving. Cross-border ad serving. It means that your geographic definition, physical geography boundaries are being collapsed into virtual geographies. So what does it give to marketers? It gives marketers the opportunity to serve their products across borders without necessarily going to set up an advertising agency to do that. We've seen clients from Argentina passing through Nigeria, giving some of the performance marketing companies to serve ads for markets that are like in Vietnam and other places, depending on the exchange rate, to take advantage of the currencies in the market, the strength of the currencies in the different markets. So these carriers are coming through. And then what do we need? in terms of we need to revisit our educational curriculum.
Okay.
In terms of what matters. There is machine learning on the technology side of things. So we need more of electronics engineers also. We need mathematicians, the math nerds.
In marketing?
Yes.
In
marketing.
Advertising?
Yes, and in advertising.
Right, that's
you
very
need
interesting.
mathematicians, essentially.
Okay.
When it comes, and you need hardcore engineers. You need physical scientists.
Yes. To aid design thinking, maybe.
To aid design thinking. And you need psychologists in our business today.
Okay.
As opposed to the days that you need a degree in marketing and other things,
So we need to rethink. There's a lot of opportunities out there, but we are just tunnels so far. Now, let me take into destination marketing. Some other people call it country marketing. Countries can be marketed.
Yeah.
Regions can be marketed.
Yeah.
Cities can be marketed. I mean, Enugu can be marketed, for
Tourism.
example. Where it can be marketed. Lagos, Ibadan can be marketed. So, how best can a country like Nigeria be marketed?
Wow. How best?
Yes.
Well, permit me to sound selfish here.
Yeah.
Permit me to sound selfish because I come from the marketing communications industry. There's no way, if you look at the abundance of talents and skills and the pace of evolution in marketing, that a country like Nigeria will restrict its marketing from a point of view of strategy and from a point of view of developing what content goes out there to the outer public without involving the advertising industry. That's a no-no.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of talent in there. There's a lot of science behind what we do. So, first and foremost, we have a regulatory body. You can't leave marketing Nigeria in the hands of Ministry of External Affairs or Ministry of Communications, all right? Those people will need to
Or information,
Or information. Those people will need
because marketing is not information. That's completely different.
No, it's completely different. It's not about churning out information from me to you basis. There's a lot of science to it. You need to understand the international audience out there. You need to identify what unique selling propositions do we have as a country, Nigeria, as a geography. What can we take to the world? And what can we take from Nigeria to Africa, from Africa to the world? If you look around the world today, the other time I was in faraway country, very, very far away, some years back. And that was precisely in Tokyo. And I was surprised in a nightclub that they were playing local Nigerian Afrocentric music. It is our culture. What have we done with that culture to become a foreign exchange earner? And the destination for content for us. You need marketing practitioners, marketing professionals to help craft the strategy and position Nigeria to where it will be. It's not going to be a relay race, and therefore it will need all stakeholders, but more especially the marketing communication professionals should be the engine room of that spearheading that attack.
I'm happy you are speaking to that because it's a policy direction we have to look at, because for a long time we have not been deliberate about this, and that is why we are, like they say, marketing, you are as good as you are perceived. Because we have not deliberately marketed ourselves, we are perceived and we are clothed in the ropes that is not deserving of Nigeria. So, and by the way, the state entities should not wait for Nigeria. You can go ahead and market your state. You can go ahead and market your city. And we hope that you will use the professionals who are trained and who are adjusted in terms of input and capacity to do that. So, Emeka, we have 5 minutes or thereabout to go. Remember, I had promised you that you give us your African proverb today and your preferred music. But before you take that, the Nigerian consumer today is in a very difficult place. Cost of production has impacted on them, and there's this geometric rise and increase in the prices of goods and services. Is advertising one of those instruments that can appeal today to Nigerian consumer? Because a man that is hungry, does he listen to advertising? Does he understand that he has to concentrate more on his needs than wants?
Wow, this is another interesting question, Dr. Ken. And ironically, in times like this, I can tell you brands that remain relevant in terms of needs and in terms of scarce resources, you need advertising.
Okay, that's when even you need it more.
That's when you need advertising.
Okay.
But maybe a different kind of advertising. A different kind of advertising that appeals to the emotions. A different kind of advertising that showcases what the product is giving to the people. A different kind of advertising that creates competitive sets and leaves it out there for the consumers to see that if they have only 100 naira to spend on a drink, do I buy a drink that is 50 liters or do I just take a shot of Uguguru to say or what have you? So you need advertising because competition gets stiffer in difficult times. And so you're not going to roll back advertising completely, but maybe a different kind of advertising. You don't want to go overboard and spend a lot of money. You have to do a lot of engagement. Mind you, there is content marketing now. And what content marketing as part of the performance marketing channels that you see is to keep engaging your consumers out there about what you're doing and how you can empathize with them, with your brand, and make things easy for them.
Fantastic.
So it is wrong to assume that because what is popular, and I can understand it, I can feel it, is that clients, the first thing they go to is to go with a hacksaw on A&P budget in times like this. But that is wrong.
So you are saying it's wrong. If anything, when the crunch time comes, like it does come now.
And there are hard facts.
Yes, to justify that.
I have seen among my clients, the ones that have cut budgets, and the same ones that have cut budget, through their market research, can see directly that is impacted on patronage on their brands versus the ones that have not cut budget but are doing differently, investing their money in different places. I have seen some clients also increase budgets at this time.
Okay, I'm happy you x-rayed that. This is when you need it the more. Like I started with the program by quoting, if you don't tell, you don't sell. So if things are tough, that is the time you should tell. But when in telling now, if I hear you, it should be smarter, it should be snackable, and it should be more deliberate. Thank you very much for today's program, and thank you for coming. Next week, now that we are coming close to media and marketing, next week we are going to deal with the creative economy, and I'm going to bring Obi Aseka. I'm very sure that you will look forward to hearing Obi Aseka. How can the creative economy help our GDP? We are going to talk about that next week, the creative economy. Emeka, thank you for coming. Now, what is your proverb for the week, and what will be your song for the week?
Straight. Only a fool tests the depth of the river with no feet, if you check the mood of the time.
Okay.
And for the song of the week, I would simply prefer Lean on Me by Michael Bolton.
Yeah. Thank you very much, listeners, for listening and for staying with us for the last 1 hour. I'm very sure that you now understand marketing better, you understand media, and you understand the tech, which is an enabler that pushes the boat on both marketing and media. Thank you very much, Emeka.
Thank you for having me.
Have
Dr.
a
Ken.
very good weekend out there.
Thank you very much.
Best of luck.
Thank you very much.
And that's it on The Discourse with Dr. Ken.